Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is August the 6th, 2026. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Thursday, everyone. Hopefully, it was a good day. Hopefully, it treated you well, treated you nice. As for me, as for mine, it was pretty good. Let's see. I woke up. It was a different kind of day. It was another day, another doctor's visit. So, had the day off. This was an earlier doctor's visit, so that was nice. I didn't have to go do something else, kill time or anything like that. Overall, I slept all right, got a good amount of sleep, which was nice for the week. But yeah, I got myself together, hung out for a little bit, went to the doctor's office. This was a new doctor, new specialist. So I was hoping that we were going to get some like definite answers. I know in the week prior I did like a kind of a impromptu emergency, if you will. Um, not procedure, but I don't know what you would call it. But yeah, I got some things tested, and I was like, all right, we'll see what the doctor says when they look at those results. This new doctor essentially kind of ruled some things out, which was kind of nice because I was thinking like definitely I'm going in and getting this kind of treatment, and that was not the case. So that was in a way good, thumbs up. But when they kind of gave me what they thought was like their thesis or what we're gonna try now, it was one of those answers. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe without being specific, but I feel like if you've been in a similar situation, you'll understand what I'm saying. Where you're like, okay, all right, this is a line that I didn't expect you to take. I don't agree with it, but granted, who am I to say I'm not a doctor? You know what I mean? And I have a couple of options in terms of like prescription stuff that I was given. One was something to treat the symptoms in like an emergency, but I don't have like too many doses. It's kind of like, hey, if you're really having a bad day, take this and it'll be helpful. And I think I can get like what is it, renewals on that, but I can't remember, think of the word right now. But the other one might help. It might be something that could aid my maybe not cure my symptoms, but I don't know. It might be the thing. But there's just something in me that makes me feel like no, this isn't gonna do it. And also, I will add something that I guess you could say was a bit worrisome. The big C was mentioned. And I know I made some jokes about it before, in episodes prior. But it is something that I'm like, damn, that's concerning. But also, when I heard that, I was like, damn, that means you're going to want me to run more tests and things like that. And those things are not going to be cheap and or covered by my insurance, like, or at least not fully. Like, I already had to pay $300 for, one, checkout procedure. And essentially they're like, oh yeah, in a couple months, we're going to need to do that again before you come back in. And it's like, come back in for, what? Like, if you guys are just now essentially saying, hey, we're not going to try to get rid of your symptoms. We're just going to kind of maybe try to lightly treat them. Especially if this, last thing doesn't work that I'm going to try. Like, I'm kind of like, oh, this is the end of the road for me. Like, this is where they're kind of going to just treat you like a car and do exploratory stuff until maybe they figure something out or maybe they don't. And it's like, man, I just really do not have the PTO. I do not have the money. I do not have the time. And I think I'm just kind of stuck with things as they are, at least until maybe something, I hate to say it, gets worse. I don't know. So today was a lot to digest. I was hoping that I was just going to get my answer. And instead I kind of got the mystery box again. So in a way that was a bit frustrating, kind of been, digesting that, dealing with that. But, I think this might be the last time I talk about it on the pod for a while. I hope, I'm sure longtime listeners, new listeners, whatever, I'm sure this is a lot to take in. And it's like, well, I don't really want to hear about this guy's vague medical drama. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, get to the news, talk about anything else. Like, this is depressing. I know. Trust me. This is, in a way, a bit of my catharsis to at least kind of get this out, talk about it to a place, whatever, update myself when I go back for, my re-listen someday. But that being said, I do appreciate, people who have, checked up on me, and people who have been really supportive. That really has meant a lot. It means a lot. And we'll just see how things go. I'm taking every day as they are, trying to make the most of each day. If I'm breaking down slowly, but hey, at least I have my faculties about me. I can move, I can operate. The pain sucks, but it's not the absolute, it's not the end of the world. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, got out of the doctor's office, and I had the rest of the day, and my girlfriend, my beautiful, wonderful girlfriend, was back in town, as I mentioned. So I was aching to see her, and went to spend the day with her. Got to her place around like the afternoon, and essentially we like kind of hung out and slept. We just slept. It was nice. We just got back to the routine of sleeping. And post our little nap, I think we might have slept for like an hour or two. And we get up, and we're hungry. We haven't eaten. And we really couldn't like nail anything down. But at one point I had mentioned like a buffet of sorts, like a Chinese buffet situation. And Zoe had mentioned like, oh, there's a new one. I think it was called Ginza Buffet. And a little bit, not too far of a drive, a little bit of a drive. And so we proceeded to go there, and a big draw for it was they had a hibachi, which I love when a buffet has an hibachi. That's a big, lure for me. But also not just hibachi, they had a pho. So I was like, pho? Okay, cool. Hell yeah, let's go. So we get there, and I will say the vibes were nice. It was definitely giving buffet. They had like the heavy dramatic, like I believe like Chinese, like music playing. Very nice, very clean setup. But as I'm getting into the buffet, I'm seeing the staples, and I'm like, I mean, hey, it is giving classic. They had like some baked salmon. They had tons of chicken dishes. We're talking General Tso's. We're talking orange chicken. I got one of my highlights was pepper chicken, and then chicken teriyaki. They had some egg rolls. I mean, the usual spread. They had it, so I was very happy to see that. And also, the random American staples, like they had like slices of pizza, garlic bread. They even had buffalo wings. I was kind of surprised to see that. So yeah, I mean, I got a usual, couple piles of bullshit for my plates. But I was definitely like, all right, I'm feeling the hibachi. But I will say, like, kind of doing a little, like, survey. And also they had a little sushi bar area as well. I got, like, a fried piece of sushi. It was okay. And I would say using that sushi as kind of like a, foreshadowing focal point, if you will. Most of this meal wound up being that sushi piece. There were certain things that were definitely hits. Like I said, the pepper chicken, very yummy. The chicken teriyaki, very yummy. The noodles were fine. Right, fried rice was fine. At one point, Zoe and I had tried the barbecue ribs, and like I bite into one side and I go, oh, I got like the bony side. And then I try to bite the other side and I'm like, oh no, it's just all bone. And then Zoe had like a piece and she bites into it and she goes, oh, they're just cooking people, which was so funny to me. She goes, oh, this is like raccoon meat. And she just started cutting up on this. And I'm like, this is not good. It was giving like the barbecue pieces look good. The ribs look good, but it was giving like pink kind of red, like dye rib, which is like not very tasty, not very yummy. The crab rangoons were not gooning. Like they just tasted like stale, and she was like, well, maybe you just got like a bad one, maybe. And I was like, maybe, but no, she tried them, same reaction, just not gooning. L goons. But other things, like I said, were good. The baked salmon was yummy as well. Like it was hit and miss. I got a thing of chicken teriyaki, and it was overall good, yummy. She got a piece, not feeling it, not inspired. Which leads me to the hibachi, because that's what I did try. I want to try in some of the hibachi, and get everything cooked up. I got like beef. I think it was either, I think it might have been crab, shrimp, an egg, and noodles, and like a couple pieces of shrimp. I went for the pineapples that they had, and I looked at it and I'm like, I don't want to put those pineapples in my thing or whatever the fuck. It looked like a pineapple anyway. Um, get that all cooked up on the hibachi. Overall, it tasted fine. It wasn't a wonder in my mouth, but hey, this might sound like I'm being a little bit heavy handed on my critique. Overall, it was a good, yummy buffet. I could definitely go back and eat there again. Now, there are other buffets on my list that I would like to go back to and try again. Yeah, for sure. But this was like a grand opening. Had no problem trying it. And, it was nice to have an outing with my beautiful, wonderful girlfriend. It was good to be back in our mode. I will say, though, we were talking big shit in terms of like, oh, yeah, we're going to eat so many plates. Hell yeah. I think she maybe like cleared two, and I like got through the two plates of my initial bullshit, my big run, and then I circled back around, had the hibachi, and then like one more plate. And I just was kind of picking at that. I think I had like a couple nibbles on like a sugar donut, and I was like, we're good. I'm good. I'm full. Um, Overall, I'd rate it like and I hate to say this, 5 or 6 out of 10. Definitely giving medium, but I love a buffet. It was nice to have my first buffet date with my girlfriend. It was good. It was good vibes for that. Um, so yeah, that was nice. That was nice. We get back to the crib. I kind of realized like, oh, I got a boot scoot and boogie, so I can try to get to the pharmacy. So I leave, and unfortunately, with a little traffic, just a little bit too far out. Wasn't able to get to the pharmacy on time for my prescriptions, but that's okay. I'll try to get there after work tomorrow. But needless to say, I came back home, kind of had another moment of decompression because I was like, by myself again, just thinking about everything. And I was like, okay, let me have a good cry. Let me work it out. And then I'm gonna go work out. So that's what I did, kind of hung out at the house for a little bit, then went to the gym. I gotta say this, it's very interesting that the gym doesn't necessarily clear out as the day like kind of comes to the end of the night. Like I always kind of think like, oh, okay, it'll be like dead maybe around like 8 or 9 o'clock. That's not necessarily the case, especially like this year. Like people kind of come whenever they want to, and maybe the summer has something to do with that as well, because people are still have a little bit of that time to be out. Maybe there's still, I don't think school started for the kids in my area. I'm not sure. I don't know. So anyway, there's a little bit more activity there, which I'm like, it's a Thursday. Usually this is like a pretty dead day, but there was enough people there. Say I did get a good workout, at least in that regard. I really wouldn't say I was like full sending or anything, but like, felt all right. Um, but yeah, I got my workout in. Then I came home, and I was like, man, I want to try getting an episode in. I want to try to do it. So I will say, mea culpa in advance if this is extra sloppy, if I miss some things, if it seems super short. I at least wanted to kind of talk about my day, because this is a big day. Who knows? We might look back on this for one way or another and be like, damn, that was a moment. I don't know, whatever. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into the news. I will also add too that Zoe came back bearing some gifts, which was very cute. She like got me a couple of buttons, and one was like a matching like little cufflink kind of button that we both have now, which I think is very cute. And then a Garfield sticker that was very fun that I got to put on my water bottle. So yeah, very cool. Love some swag. But yeah, let me go ahead and do the startup. All right. From CBS News, Trump issues new executive orders aimed at birthright citizenship. President Trump on Thursday signed two executive orders in his latest effort to refuse citizenship to some children born in the United States, after the Supreme Court struck down his earlier executive order claiming to end birthright citizenship. We had a very unfortunate decision in the Supreme Court concerning birthright. It was close, Mr. Trump said in an Oval Office signing on Thursday, but a very, very unfortunate decision. So we're making adjustments. One order the president signed Thursday targets people who engage in commercial birth tourism by seeking to deny them access to the country. The other expands the definitions of people that it states are ineligible for birthright citizenship, such as children of foreign citizens who lobby on behalf of foreign governments. This has been something that people have talked about not only for years but for decades. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said of birth tourism. The idea that people come here pretending to be a tourist, pretending to be a visitor, saying that they want to go to Disneyland or they want to go visit a monument or go to a national park, but the real reason they're here is to have a child, to make that child an automatic citizen, leave our country, and then have a U.S. citizen child, Miller said. It gives them access under this broken system to welfare benefits, ultimately to voting, the voting booth, and all other rights and privileges that belong solely to America. This is just bullshit, man. It is such a wild thing. I have heard politicians in other countries years prior try to roll this shit out, and it's like, dog, this seems so counterintuitive to what you really want. You want people to come to your country. You want them to experience like the pleasures and joys of Spain. But it's like, God forbid you have a kid here. Like, now that kid's actually a citizen here. Yuck. Like, what kind of logic is that? And essentially we are trying to port and inject that logic into, our American system. And it just doesn't work, man. It's so weird. And it's like, hey, we realize that we can't use this whole anchor baby, yada, 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 like jargon that doesn't work, that doesn't hold water. We've taken that to the Supreme Court and they said, no, you can't do that. You're actually a citizen. Like, we've gone through this. And they're like, okay, well, then maybe we'll say, you can't do the birth tourism thing because that just sounds bad. And you try to lay out this thing that like, this is what so many people are trying to do. They're scrambling to get here to just drop off a baby. And then that baby has citizenship and then we're good to go. It's like, dude, no, people want an American dream that we have been selling this entire fucking time. And essentially you want to sell that dream, but not give people access to it. You want people to come here, potentially, get stuck in a shitty ass job, until you've had your use and fill of them, and then you want to villainize them and kick them the fuck out. Tale as old as fucking time. So this is essentially the Trump administration trying to yet again remix the rules and get whatever they can to say, hey, this is a win. We actually did, end birthright citizenship or changed it irreparably. So, I mean, obviously I'm booing this fucking shit. I'm trying to think, there probably is another thing I should add. Also listed are children whose parents belong to terrorist groups, children of foreign government employees, and children who were born in a U.S. territory where citizenship is not conferred by federal status. The order does not apply to people with at least one parent who is a citizen. Currently, the children of foreign diplomats already are not eligible for citizenship by birth, though Thursday's order might expand the number of people who fall under that exception to birthright citizenship. Meanwhile, people who were born in the U.S. territories like Puerto Rico are currently deemed citizens under federal law. So yeah, this is still groundbreaking. It's definitely important to talk about, and, just blow the whistle on, saying like, hey, this also has to be stopped, also has to be sued and pushed all the way up to the Supreme Court and fought over. And I hope that the Supreme Court sides the same way that they did before on the birthright shit. But the thing is, you can't trust that. With a supermajority, they are itching to try to agree to a guy like Donald Trump. At the end of the day, I think the interests do align for them. But at the end of the day, they know they don't want to get yelled at by, the general population. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So, they want to come off as kind of like, grand arbiters, non-biased, all that bullshit. But we'll see. We'll see how those things go in the months, probably years to come. I don't know. We'll see how that shit tracks. Anyway, let's move on. Next story from CBS News. Jason Arde, Cambridge. Jason Arde, Cambridge's youngest black professor, resigns amid plagiarism allegations. Jason Arde, the sociologist who made history as Cambridge University's youngest black professor, has resigned from university after weeks of mounting accusations of plagiarism and fabrications in his biography. Arde, who joined Cambridge in 2023 at the age of 37, became one of Britain's most high profile academics after sharing an extraordinary life story. He has said he is autistic and dyslexic, and that he did not speak until he was 11 and could not read or write until he was 18. But following accusations and scrutiny, Arde resigned from his position on Wednesday. The relentless accusations, speculation amid public commentary have taken a profound toll on me and those I love, he said in a statement. He did not address the specific allegations against him, but said his resignation should not be mistaken for an acceptance of the narratives that have surrounded me. It is simply the decision of someone who has reached the limits of what any person should reasonably be expected to endure, he said. Arde has previously denied any deliberate wrongdoing, describing mistakes in his academic work as unintentional and arguing that much of the criticism amounts to an ideologically and racially motivated campaign against him. Allegations of plagiarism were raised in July by Nathan Kofnes, we're going to say Kofnes, a philosopher of biology and former Cambridge researcher who has publicly criticized diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. He previously wrote that in a meritocracy, blacks would disappear from almost all high-profile positions outside of sports and entertainment. Which, damn, that's pretty fucked up to fucking say, Nathan. Kofnes said he ran Arde's PhD thesis and several subsequent academic papers through a plagiarism detection program, alleging that sections closely resembled and in some cases copied the work of other scholars without proper attribution. I found extensive plagiarism, Kofnes told CBS News. Much of it was just verbatim copying, word for word copying, or he would change the phraseology a little bit, but clearly plagiarism with no reference to the source. Kofnes said he began looking into it after he was contacted by a Cambridge academic who told him there's a plagiarist and fabulous on the facility. Let's see here. How much more of this I want to read? I want to skip a little bit. Beyond the plagiarism allegations, Kofnes also raised doubt about Arde's background and personal accomplishments, but he admitted it is impossible to prove or disprove Arde's biographical claims without more direct evidence. And I will say, like, this, I'm kind of assuming this Kofnes guy or whatever is a fucking racist or whatever. Academic bullshit aside, because I do think there's some weight and credence to that. It's like if you were doing blatant ripoffs of other people's work, it's like, well, that's a fucking problem, man. You didn't even fucking attribute it to them. It's not your work. That's fucked up. But some of the shit he was claiming, out even side of the fact that he's, autistic, dyslexic, didn't speak, was a mute until like 18, he was like adding to the legend. And like this to me, it like definitely lends to the idea DEI hire aside, this is giving flim flam. It's giving scam. Like saying he was like doing like a lot of like charities and like marathon runs and things like of that nature. It's like, I mean, very cool if you're participating in this and raising a lot of money and all that, but like if you're not actually doing any of this stuff, you're not really hitting any of these accomplishments or accolades. These things aren't happening. Well, that's fucked up. That's not good. And then it also kind of bleeds back into your academic career. It's like, well, that makes me definitely not want to believe you and not want to really rush to your defense. That being said, guys like this, Nathan Kofnes guy, other talking heads, I'm sure it's going to go, even get to a political place if it hasn't already, where you're saying, hey, see, this is why we got to cut the DEI shit. This is why we had to cut the affirmative action, because you don't want to reward or give people these kind of opportunities. And it's like, man, you could have had a situation where you had a young, black professor, and that person would have been a great hire, just as is, point blank, period. You didn't have to have the added story of the autism and the not talking for years, yada yada yada, any of the other accolades. You don't need that, but just that person can exist. That person can thrive, and in this whole idea of meritocracy or whatever. It's just a shame that it's like there's more things at play there. We talked about systematic fucking shit and how that shit is the only thing that really does flow down and never really flows back up. But that being said, that's not really, a thing that people like Nathan really like to factor in or talk about. They just, they can't do it. They're just not up to snuff. So anyway, fuck that guy. you know. And if true, obviously it's a big shame that Arde chose to kind of take the route of saying, "Hey, I got to make my life more than legend." That's not a new thing. That's a tale as old as time. People gotta add some mythos. They gotta pad the stats. But sometimes you do that shit and it just really gets out of hand. It really gets away from you. Um, which is unfortunate. Well, we'll definitely see how things go. And obviously, I'm not saying this with any kind of well, I did the research. I've literally heard the story about I think 2 times, and I was like, all right, we'll go ahead and talk about it on the pod, and we'll see where that goes. At least we have a toehold, a foothold. At least we can say we talked about it a little bit. Anyway, we're gonna move on to our last story, and it's light. I wanted to try to not go too deep for today, but I did want to give y'all a little bit of something. And this story has also been making the rounds. So let's hop on our bike, and let's talk about some do's and don'ts. What you can do, what you can do in terms of what you can wear, what you shouldn't wear, for the Tour de France. Anyway, let's take our last break, and we'll close it out there. In a way, this is another story about padding the stats. Oh, okie dokie. From the BBC. Riders' clothing checked at women's tour over bra padding concerns. Riders at the Tour de France FIMS avec Zwift? Swift with a Z. How do you say that? Zwift? I feel like I'm making that too German. Avec Zwift have had their clothing checked to prevent attempts to make aerodynamic gains. I will say having that name Swift, that's super cool for a biker name. I don't know if they changed it to that or that's just what it was. Hell yeah, sorry. Issues have reportedly been raised about padding in bras that could result in riders gaining 1 second per kilometer, which is crazy that like this is a thing that they know. Like once people figured out like, oh, you can do this, like you can potentially shave this amount of time. It's like a scientific fact. We've proven it. Like they knew that it's like, okay, we have to like now inspect the riders. Gotta get a little intimate. Sorry. Race organizer ASO issued a statement following Dutch media reports of concerns. Some riders had used bra padding as aerodynamic fairings to improve efficiency. Other items have been known to be inserted into a skin suit around a chest area to smooth airflow around the body. I think I heard one because initially I'd heard the story on the BBC, what is it, podcast, broadcast, whatever the fuck, of stories of women like putting like bottles, like water bottles, into their suit, to essentially do the same thing. Like it augments the suit so that it pushes the air in a way. Because I think essentially what you're trying to do is push the air away from your legs as you're biking, and that allows you to be moving faster. Which I'm like, that's so nerdy. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is what it is. Like, for years we have been improving on the technology in terms of the bikes, in terms of just the little interesting, I can't think of the fucking word, in intricacies, the little details, this and that. And then it's the footwear, it's the suit itself. And, now they're like, okay, like we've kind of done it, but like we could also still do more. And it's like, hey, let's not do that. But like, what if you just don't know? Riders must be to the final checks before the race, bikes and outfit, no later than 10 minutes before their respective start time. The statement said. Let's see. Dutch outlet Wielerflits said the practice had been seen previously in women's cycling, including at the Paris 2024 Olympics. Riders could face disqualification from a race and a fine of nearly 200. What is that? That's got to be fuck. Is that euros or pounds? Whatever. It's one of those. I'm in the weeds. Sorry. Anyway, much attention is paid to the airflow and aerodynamic efficiency in cycling as the correct shape of bike frame and skin suit can save a rider several seconds, especially during a time trial, where a rider races alone against the clock. Ski jumping last February, male athletes were accused of using penis injections to aid aerodynamic efficiency. So that story right there was a story we covered before on the pod, which is mainly the reason why I'm covering this now, is to kind of show that, like, hey, it's not as extreme as that. But still, it is one of those things where people will try to get those little edges, those little finesses to get better times, better results. And it's like, hey, what about the integrity of the game? Don't you care about that? Da da da. It's like, yeah, there's a whole level and matrix of things to be talking about there. But also, at the end of the day, point blank fucking period, money is on the line for these people. Not just the payout initially, but payout for sponsorships in the future, all those kind of things. So you want to come out and do as you know, as well as you can. I do get that. You know what I mean? It's more than the competition in and of itself for these people, you could say. Not to, okay it or say, oh, that's all right, but it's just one of those things where that never surprised me, that you see people say, hey, I'm gonna sink lower, I'm gonna do more, I'm gonna fucking put these fucking pads on my bra, I do not care. You know what I mean? Some motherfuckers would probably bad joke. I'm just not even gonna say it. I'm not even gonna be crass. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the night. But yeah, that's it. That is all that we have for today. That'll be the episode. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/ZaneNews. Become a newsie today. If you always hit me up at zanews1@gmail.com, feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Let's see. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is always caring. 5 stars, all the stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts are always appreciated. But if you don't do that, I'd say okay. I just appreciate you listening. I just appreciate you hanging out with me. And thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I'll see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.